Go ahead and call me Rookie of the Year. Hate me cause I'm young, but I'm still booking on you peers. Rockin' G like it, being stupid looking is your fear. Might as well step away before we're whooping up your rear. More money, more problems. Being broke and young is quite a decent way to solve them. So we're the perfect crew. And IG1, the struggle is what drives us to pursue goals with military aggression. Not so much like Alex Hume. And I'm so jacked. Life's tough and I know that. Victory is so sweet. Everybody wanna hate on us like we stole that. Set these mechs in the speed mode and we burn it up. Yo, whole track. Treat number 3 like it's no lap. Beat my machine, that's so crap. Winning is the only thing. Step to me, get egged like an aubergine. Competitors are being owned by youth. Call them Satomi team. I may not look like a boss, but those eyes stay glued to me like your Regine. Keep watching while I fulfill all these losers' dreams.
My team is so on, we hit the track, we blow balls, we glance back, say so long. Youth with all hope on this race, all we have, so your team's about to get stolen. And don't you underestimate us, cause we're the new kids on the block, cause you will get rocked. And when we win, we'll be immortal. And when we win, we'll be immortal.
Hey everybody, this is just a special interview we're doing with Sean of Anime 3000. I'm Taiwan. Follow me on Twitter at BroskiTaiwan. And I'll let these other two gentlemen introduce themselves because I'm with two people.
Hey, I'm Darrell. You can follow me on Twitter at OriginalKingD or at Blurs Online. Doesn't really matter either way.
And I'm Sean Russell, and you can find me at anime3000.com.
Alright, let's just jump right into this interview then. Sean, I want to know, what does the 3000 behind Anime 3000 mean?
Well, the 3000, when I was coming up with the name, I was trying to find a way to show the future. And around that time, a bit I remembered from the Conan O'Brien show was in the year 2000. And obviously 2000 had already passed, so I'm thinking, okay, what's not going to pass in my lifetime? The year 3000. So I just put anime and then 3000, so we'll always be the future of anime, at least in my lifetime.
That's alright,
pretty
man.
awesome.
That's pretty cool. That's alright. Nice. And I want to know, what are you trying to accomplish with Anime 3000? Like, what are you providing to the anime fans? You know, what is your take on the anime industry? And, I mean, what are your goals with Anime 3000? What do you want to see?
Well, it starts off as a hobby. I'm doing this for fun. Doesn't pay the bills, but it fulfills another need. It scratches another itch, and I'm sure you guys can attest to that. So my goal is just to take my background in production and just push myself, almost like a shonen character, just push myself to my limits and try to do as much as I can for as long as I can do it. And try to produce a polished program, something, and try to do things that other podcasts can't do or haven't done or won't do. And over the years, we've been able to break down a lot of doors that a lot of other podcasts haven't been able to do. And but the biggest hurdle, I guess, with any podcast or anything is, what have you done lately? So, you can't live off of the past. You have to continue pushing forward and doing bigger and better things. And that's what I want to do with Anime 3000. I could sit and create long-term goals and say, well, I want Anime 3000 to have the largest community of podcasters, cosplayers, at this, that, and the other. But, the biggest hurdle is just getting people to listen to what you're doing right now. And, as you come across different obstacles, whether it be, issues with a website or, not being able to find reliable, podcasters. Not saying that I'm experiencing these issues, but these are things you're going to come across. Because it's one thing to create a podcast, but it's another to start a network. And it's essentially running a business and getting people to work for you without paying them. And to me, that's 10 times harder than running a business and having the incentive of saying, okay, here you go, you get a paycheck for your hard work.
Very true.
My way of I pay these people is to provide an audience and for them to get feedback and for them to feel like they're not wasting their time. So my job essentially as the executive producer of Anime 3000 is to come up with creative ways to bring this audience to these different voices and personalities outside of myself, because I personally host 2 to 3 shows on the network, and in total we have about 6. So yeah, it's definitely a challenge, but fortunately that's one of the things I geek out about, as strange as it might sound. If there's I guess people who like harem and people who like building action figure Gundam figures and different types of geeks, I'm a geek for business, so I have a good time doing that.
That's cool, man. That's very cool. And I want to know, like, how did you start off, watching anime? What was your interest in anime and pretty much your genesis story, as you mentioned in the last interview that we did,
With me and a lot of people, I grew up around anime, but I didn't know anime really was a thing. I had a point where I was like, oh my gosh, that show was originally in Japan. That's pretty cool. Go on to something else. I started watching, when I became cognizant of anime, was around the time I started watching Sailor Moon reruns. And it was only because I was babysitting this kid, and most of the time was spent watching Nick Jr. and PBS Kids, because obviously there's a little kid there. So when that afternoon block of shows came on, like the local affiliate shows, I'm sure you guys have that.
Yeah.
Sailor Moon was the first, show outside of Nick Jr. that I could watch. So I'd put the kid to sleep and watch Sailor Moon, and then it's like, okay, I like the storytelling of this. I like the way that, it's not like Scooby-Doo. You watch one episode from beginning to end and that's it. Then the next week it's a brand new story. I liked how you can watch part 1 and then, the next day, a continuation of that and a continuation of the next day. I like that type of storytelling. So I really got into that. Then, went to high school and everybody was talking about, this is around Toonami time. Everyone was talking about Dragon Ball Z. Everybody was talking about Gundam Wing. Couldn't get into Gundam Wing. It was too advanced anime-wise for me, But I got into Dragon Ball, Dragon Ball Z. And I became fanatical about that. And then Adult Swim. I saw previews of Cowboy Bebop, and immediately I was like, this is so whack. You know what I mean? It's like, it just looked like a show for adults. That was my initial impression, not being in an anime at the time. But you had things like Inuyasha and Yu Yu Hakusho and things like that were more to my taste. Having watched Dragon Ball Z. So I got into that, tried out Cowboy Bebop, and then that show was the one that was like, oh crap, I didn't know anime was like this. I didn't know they could make these types of shows. So then I found out, through my friends in high school, that there was this comic book shop that rented pretty much any anime you can think of. And this is before, you can easily torrent and go to sites like Crunchyroll and things like that. People were passing around DVDs and tapes and stuff like that. Internet existed. I'm not that old, but it wasn't as, we didn't have like broadband. Speeds weren't like super fast, so you had to pretty much rely on tapes and things of that nature.
Yeah.
So I was catching up on shows like Fushiyugi and a whole bunch of other stuff that you couldn't find on television. And then, my background, I do web design. I went to school for television production. So I just took my interest, my growing interest in anime, combined it with web design and video production. I started off with that, going to conventions. My first big thing was saving up some money and going all the way to first New York Comic Con,
Oh, nice.
and I went there. I was able to get press because I was kind of used to that process through school because I went to a high school for television production, so I'm used to like obtaining press and this, that, and the other, and producing and whatnot. So I got
Okay.
press to New York Comic Con, and that's where I met Funimation. I met Dark Horse. I met all these people in the industry, and because I was press, it didn't matter who I was. They're like, "Hey, here's all this free stuff. Talk about us on your blog." They didn't know I had 2 viewers or 2 listeners. It's just because I somehow was able to be vetted by the convention, and they looked at me as an equal. So I kept in touch with those people, started getting screeners from Funimation, even though I had like 50 listeners. And things just kind of went from there. Just kept at it, kept putting out a consistent content. Things just kind of kept going up because we stayed consistent and didn't quit and put out more stuff when people were starting to drop off. And then that's kind of where we were going. And then eventually got to a point where you're looking at it and saying, wow, we have a lot of viewers, we have a lot of listeners, what's that next step? And then we started getting calls from Crunchyroll. They wanted me to do stuff for them, and Funimation wanted to
Man, that's
sponsor us,
awesome.
and and then all this stuff started happening. And then it's like you reach a point that sounds good, but in reality it's not good, because we weren't a company. We're same thing you guys are doing. Even right now, same thing. It's just I've had a lot of experience outside of anime and production and stuff, and I brought that to Anime 3000. So it looked, I guess, from the outside in, it looked like we were like a startup or something like that. But in reality, it was just me spending too much time putting together something that looked polished. So things just kind of started going super crazy. I tried to turn it into a business, and that's kind of brought me back to where I am right now, where it's like whenever you turn a hobby into a business, you better be set up to succeed. And we didn't have any startup capital. We didn't have any investors. It's me coming out of my pocket to market and promote all this stuff. And as things start to escalate, the price tag gets bigger. And unless you can keep up with that, you're setting yourself up for disaster, because you can't be getting all this attention, getting a little bit of sponsorships here and there, and not pay your people. It's not a good look for you. So once you start getting to that territory, you lose you lose the ability to stay consistent with your product. You lose a little bit of the drive, and things suffer as a result. So where I am right now is going back to basics, just trying to make something as good as I can make it, try to have fun with it, become a bigger fan of anime. Like, I'm really getting into manga right now. One Punch Man right now is like my crack right now.
That's
Do
awesome.
you guys follow that?
Yeah, I do. It's
I
awesome.
heard about it. I heard it's pretty good.
And I'm zooming through it. I went through 20 chapters in the last 2 hours. I'm loving it. But
Nice.
yeah, so I'm just becoming a fan of anime again, and putting out more content. Like, I just finished up an interview with Stu Levy from Tokyo Pop, which I always wanted to interview him, and that was a big deal for me, because he kind of reminds me a lot of myself. He kind of misunderstood, but yeah, that's pretty much it, man. It's just have fun with whatever you're doing, and Anime 3000 is like my baby. I'm just, it might not always, listen to me, but I'm not gonna throw it away.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
kill
great
it.
that you took a great idea like this, and and you made it into something of your own, and you have these big anime companies. Well, I shouldn't say huge or big, but I mean, they're very well-known companies that some people like us, like me, I'm listening to you, I'm like, well, damn, like you know these guys. Well, you don't know them, but you know certain people in the business, and you know some of these people in this industry, and it's like, well, that's pretty awesome. Like, I wish I could, give the opportunity or have the opportunity to do this. And like, I want to know if you had any advice for like people that are looking to go into the anime business, what advice would you give them?
In the anime business or in
Like
like what do you mean by the anime business?
like the way you came up with, press and everything like that, and you start to get to know people and you start to get sponsors, like you said about, turning something into a business, like for people that
I
would
would
want to go
say
that route.
first off, I would say don't turn it into a business. You're not gonna make money.
Yeah.
You're gonna spend all your like the way people spend money on comic books and video games and things. That's the way I spend money on Anime 3000. It's
Hmm.
my hobby. I have fun with it. There's right now the closest thing to a successful business model in terms of anime is Anime News Network, and they pretty much have a lock on the market right now. So unless
Hmm.
you can get somebody to throw a couple million your way, you're not going to be able to compete with them off the bat. You can come up with an awesome podcast, get a lot of listeners, but that's going to require you having a consistent, tight product that people want to hear, finding a niche for yourself. Like, for example, the One Piece podcast. They found a good niche for themselves because they specifically talk about One Piece. You when you go to their podcast, you know what they're going to talk about. But on top of that, they're at as many conventions as they can go to. They're doing exactly what I've been doing, talking to the voice actors in the studios and this, that, and the other, establishing these relationships. That's what you need to do. But you have to know the type of person you are. If you
Hmm.
flake out on a lot of things, if you're not really going to put in the hours and the time to get something done, you aren't going to be successful. Because I see a lot of
Okay.
podcast. I've been doing podcasting. I've had the website for almost 10 years now, but I've been doing podcasting since 2007.
Hmm.
And I've seen so many podcasts come and go. Very few stay consistent. And the ones that are consistent are the ones that are the most popular. And that's all. I guess that's the biggest advice. Be consistent, attend conventions, try to do panels, stay humble,
Of course, yeah,
and
definitely.
go on other podcasts. Don't ever think your podcast is better than someone else's podcast. And network. That's all. If only you and your friends know about your podcast, that's where it's going to stay.
Very good points. Very good points. Darrell, do you have any questions for Sean?
Yeah, just a few. So, you said you've been doing Anime 3000 for about 10 years now. So, what really made you decide to just take the leap and go for it? Like,
Take the leap and
yeah.
start the website. Um, I, my one of my passions and my main hobbies was creating websites. So, around the same time I was creating Anime 3000, I had a website for this comedy show called News Radio. I had a website for the wrestler Raven. I had a website for TiVo. It's like anything I liked, I sat down there and created a website for it. And as my interests start to disappear in that particular topic, so does the website. But my interest in anime kind of stuck and stood around. And the fact that I hit a point. I started off by myself. It was just like a blog, and what's coming out on anime this Tuesday? Hey, brand new box set of blah blah blah. Here's some news. So and so, whoa, this new manga called Black Lagoon. Check it out. Whatever I was posting on there, and then I put something out on MySpace. This is how long ago it was. Do you guys even know what
Yeah,
MySpace
we
is?
got those
Oh yeah,
MySpace
man.
photos.
Yeah, I was in that generation.
Okay, I don't know what this new generation is, what you guys know and don't know, but yeah. Anyways, I put something out of MySpace, and I got a whole bunch of people who wanted to write for me. So when we first started off, I had like 20 writers on
Nice.
Anime 3000. We were cranking out content, boom, 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 boom. Then it got to, so that's kind of what kept me moving, and kind of answer your question. But what started initially was I just love making websites and organizing things. That's pretty much what made me take that jump. And then as things started to get bigger and bigger, I wanted to take bigger chances, and that's what made me go to these conventions and ask for press. Like the first convention I went to, I didn't even have press, and I just start going up to the voice actors and saying, "Hey, can I do a video interview with you?" And they're like, "Cool, yeah, sure." Like my first interview was with Spike Spencer, the voice of Shinji from Evangelion, and
nice.
And then Brittany Karbowski, who was brand new at the time, but she went on to do Black Star for Soul Eater and a whole bunch of other voices. And it was just kind of like, oh, I didn't know it was that easy. And then I went up to the person who ran it and say, if I wanted to get access to them and not feel like I didn't say it like this, but not feel like a complete herb going up to them, and that's probably a dated reference, but feeling like a complete jerk going up to them, and he's like, yeah, just send us an email a few months in advance and ask for press. I'm like, oh, okay, that sounds interesting. So I sent him an email, gave them my numbers to ask, how many listeners you have and this, that, and the other. Figure out how to get that info, give it to them. They say yes or no, and then that's it. Most of my conventions I went to, probably only went to like one convention, not as press. But that's not enough, though. You have to do more than that, and you kind of learn that stuff as you go along. I don't want to tell you everything because part of the fun is figuring this out for yourself. You don't want to hit a roadblock right away, because when you sit there and you try to figure it out, that's when you network. If you already know how to do everything off the bat, then you don't get that networking opportunity, and then you hit a wall.
All right.
Very good points.
So,
All right.
you said
Nice.
you treat it sort of like a hobby. So, what's the most rewarding part that you can, like, what's the rewarding part that you feel like?
The money. No, I'm kidding. I'm joking. The most rewarding part is when you get an email from someone and that says, I've been listening to your podcast for X amount of years, and I just wanted to say, thank you for putting it out there. That to me is like the best thing you can get as a podcaster. Not the fact that they are giving you feedback, because you're going to get a lot of feedback, and people are, maybe not starting out, but eventually you'll get feedback. People say, oh, this is a cool episode. But for someone to say they've been listening to your podcast for X amount of months or years, that kind of takes away a little bit of the sting of when you're going for months and years without hearing anything from anybody, knowing that, even though you see those numbers, 100,000, whatever amount of people downloading it, and probably only hearing a fraction of that from feedback from that, knowing that all those people that are listening like your program, they're just not the type of person to leave feedback, makes you say, okay, I'm going to keep doing this. So the feedback you get is the most rewarding part, because if no one's saying it's one thing to see numbers, but to actually communicate with someone that likes what you do is the best type of, fulfillment you can have from something like this, especially when you're just doing it as a hobby.
I completely agree with that. Like, I go crazy when I get an email notification somebody left a comment or something. Like, I just get so excited.
That's for hobbyists. That's our payment. That's how we get paid. You know what I mean? It's if you're not, if anybody listening to this, for your podcast, let these guys know what you're thinking. I'm not saying that you guys don't get feedback, but it's like, there's so many people, and I do this too. I'm completely guilty of it. There's so many things that I like. Even on Facebook, I'll see something and be like, oh, damn, that was so funny. And just go to the next thing. I got to catch myself and say, oh, shit, let me hit like. Just to let that person know that I thought it was funny. Sometimes you you're not thinking about that. You're just looking at whatever you consumed and being like, that was a good meal. Like, you ever had like a good meal and it was like, oh, let me go thank the person that made this? No, you eat it, it's like, oh, that was some good shit. Oh,
Yeah.
and then you move on. But it's not like you hate it. You show you like it by keep going back. But to the person that made it or the person that whatever did it, they don't know you liked it because you're just a number. So I would suggest across the board, if there's something you really, really like, even if there's like a company you really, really like, take a second and thank them. Because I've done that a few times and I've gotten stuff from people. You know what I mean? Like,
that's dope, man.
It's just something that's reaching out. That's networking. Networking is the most. Are you guys in college?
Yeah.
Going to college
Yes.
eventually?
In college.
Oh.
The number one advice I'm going to pass down to you, and you probably already know this, college is a complete waste of time and a complete waste of money if you're not networking while you're there. Because what's going to happen is you're going to leave college with a whole bunch of tools and no one to work and nowhere to use them. Because people like me that are hiring outside of anime, I'm in management and things of that nature. I'm looking for people that I can trust, people that I know how to do this. Getting a degree is not hard. Experience is what's important. And if you can get an internship or if you can get your foot into the door for wherever it is you want to do before you leave college, that's the best thing. And that's no different than running an anime podcast or website. You need to network, send out emails, take chances, and be professional about it.
Very true. Very true. Now, about taking chances, like, what advice would you give to people? Like, because I know there's a lot of people that would like to do a lot of things. For example, I'm trying to, dip my hands into reviewing anime, and luckily, a company replied to me, and they're going to send me some titles, and extremely right now. I'm extremely happy about that. But I feel like with a lot of people, they want to do a lot of stuff anime related or just in life, but they're afraid to take the risk. And I want to know if you had any words towards that, like to gear people into taking risks that, if they really want to do something, go for it, and you never know, it might happen.
Just have a plan. It's one thing to take a risk, but you don't want to tarnish your reputation.
Yeah.
So if you're going to start taking stuff from anybody, know that that's good and that's bad.
Mm-hmm.
In a way, because once you start taking something from somebody, there is an unset expectation for, an unset pressure put on you as a reviewer to maintain that relationship. Whereas if you were just to get it on your own, that pressure isn't there. You know what I mean? And with the way distribution's set up right now, like, I could reach out to Crunchyroll right now and I can say, can we get free memberships? Because we practically talk about you guys every single podcast.
Mm-hmm.
But a part of me doesn't want to do that, because if I want to start, being extremely hypercritical of them, not to say that I can if they're giving me stuff, but at the same time, it's like their bottom line is they want to make money.
Yeah.
And once you start taking things from people, it puts you in that gray area where you should say whatever you want to say. Don't hold back, this, that. Be tactful and respectful, obviously. But I have seen it where people can be spiteful. And people can restrict certain things based on the way that you are. And you just don't always want to put yourself in that situation unless you really have to.
Understood.
So, it's almost like I can make a website right now and get 1 million people, boom, easily. Just torn anime, manga. You know what I mean? I know how to do it. I have the server space. I have the know-how. It's not hard. But once you go down a certain path and you start working with the industry, it's harder for you to do that because now you're on their radar. Not to say that you should do that. I'm all, save the industry, buy Crunchyroll membership, Funimation, Roro, Fight the Power, all that good stuff. But what people want at the end of the day, what your audience wants, they don't want to hear that. They just want to hear about anime. They just want to watch anime. They want to hear about manga, and they want to read manga. And however they can get it, they're going to get it for the most
Very
part.
true. Very true.
So your job when you start reaching out to the industry now is to convince them that they should be paying $6.95 for, a volume of this manga. They should be paying $11.95 a month to have a Crunchyroll premium membership. And a lot of people just don't want to hear that. So then you become a little bit handicapped. Whereas if you weren't involved with the industry, you can build your numbers. You can build, like Crunchyroll, for example. I hate to keep bringing them up, but they're a great example of, they came up by, hey, send us whatever videos. Of course, there are certain nuances in it that I'm leaving out, but pretty much, hey, we're going to be posting up, videos from Japan and all these things that aren't necessarily, licensed. And all our numbers, hey, we're getting built up. Hey, now we have millions of people. Let's go get a sponsorship. We got the sponsorship. Now, get investors. Now we got investors. Let's take all that stuff down and bring in Naruto.
Ooh.
True.
You know what I mean? So it's like,
Yeah.
And then we'll build off of that. But they wouldn't have gotten there if they went that, well, I'm going to, only put up things that I have permission to put up. So you kind of handicap yourself if you're looking to grow and eventually get to a point where you can hire your friends and have a nice little solid business. Sometimes you have to go that back route in order to get those numbers, because unless you're giving the people what they want, they're not going to buy into your product, because you're going to be competing against the people that can give them what they want. We were doing podcasting for a while. Then A&N started a podcast, and it's like, how do you compete with that? Quality aside, if I'm working off of whatever I can afford. Not knocking those guys. They've been great to us. They've been on my show so many times, invited me onto their show, but just realistically, it's like a little deflating. Like, if Crunchyroll started a podcast, it'd be like, what the hell? Funimation has the Right Stuff has their podcast. It's like anybody can make a podcast. So it's like, if you're trying to do something bigger than just, hey, I'm trying to have fun, it's going to get very frustrating. So just be very careful when you're trying to go that industry route, because it's a slippery slope, because you're going to want to become a business after a while. Okay. And that model isn't there. Not to deflate you, but it's not. Unless you do something revolutionary, you just better have as much fun as you can, and maybe use it as a segue to work for one of those companies.
Okay. Well, I was just curious to bring that up, because I like watching anime, and I look at it as, hey, it'd be a fun idea. What if you just look at it as like a fun route and you don't really try to push it to anything else? Like, if you still keep it as a hobby, do you think you'll still be in that gray area? If you always have that mentality of having fun with it?
If you are, here's the thing, if you want to just have fun with it, at a certain point, you're going to not have fun with it.
Okay.
And then you have to look at all the people
understandable.
Look at all the people that are going to be, sad once you decide to stop doing it. So you have to have a plan behind what you're doing. If you're going to start becoming, more professional and serious about it, you can't really just have that, well, I'm just doing it until I stop having fun with it.
Yeah, you gotta stick through. Yeah, I understand.
You gotta stick with it, even if it's, say, I'm gonna take a step back and have these people, fill in and be the host of the show. You gotta keep it running, and then you're gonna hit a point where if you're doing your job right, your numbers are gonna go up, and you might have to, pay for server space. You might have to pay for a Libsyn account. You might have to, do this, that, and the other. You might have to go out to a few conventions, things of that nature. Then you're going to see things go to a certain point. And it's like, wow, if I keep doing this, then I can get 1,000 more listeners. Let me try that. Then you're going to get more listeners. It's like, oh, if I keep doing this, then it's become an addiction. You're going to have more fun with it, but then it's going to hit a point where, you have to put up or shut up.
Mm-hmm.
If you want to have fun with it, if you just want to have your friends talking about stuff, this, that, and the other, then just have fun with it. You can't be overly ambitious and just want to chill with it at the same time.
Yeah, very true.
You got to have that person in your crew, that's like, well, I'm going to treat this a little bit more intensely than just, hey, let's just jump on once a week and see what happens. If you want to do anything with it.
Okay. Thank you for that great sound feedback, man. I appreciate it.
Hopefully it's not too deflating. I have a tendency of being like that, but it's just, outside of anime, I also had a music business. Not business. Hear me. A music what's it called? A music thing similar to Anime 3000, where I went out and I interviewed a lot of alternative rock bands and did video interviews and got almost same thing with how I kind of got into the anime industry. I got into the music industry and dealing with Def Jam artists and interviewing YG before he even when he first got signed with Def Jam, and going on Warped Tour and interviewing all those artists, and you hear their stories and you see the parallels in everything entertainment. And it's just when you see too much, your
Views
point
change?
of view is your point of view is a little skewed because you see the way things work, and you find a parallel on everything, not even entertainment, just in general, life in general. And sometimes when I'm speaking candidly, that can come out, but it's all about networking. It's all about resources and perseverance, and being in the right place at the right time. If you're working hard, you're going out there, you're meeting people, you're letting them know what you're doing, you're on point, you're making sure you're doing the best thing you can do, you're researching your particular industry to know what works and what doesn't work, and you're being smart about what you're doing, you're going to be successful. But if things start getting in the way, if life starts getting in the way, if you're not surrounded by people that share your same passion and motivation, it's going to become another job and you're going to start to resent it.
Mm-hmm. Very, very sound advice. That's what I look for, man. I appreciate you. This is for the people to hear as well, for anybody that might be interested in, going in these routes and everything, to let them make the choices that they want to do. And I feel like this is a very important interview, and I'm glad that you came on and you talked to us. I appreciate it. Darrell, did you have anything else you wanted to add?
Just
Or ask?
not anything I really wanted to ask. Just thank you for keeping it honest with us. Not gonna, yeah, that's pretty much a big thing. Just staying honest, not lying about it being easy, or you know what I mean. Just
Yeah, I mean, as long as you're having fun, just keep having fun with it, man.
Oh, yeah.
And you seem like you guys have a nice thing going for yourself. I saw something in the guild. You know what I mean? Like, Terrence, when he first reached out to me,
yeah.
Terrence, right? Terrence. What's his status? Where is
currently he gave up social networking for Lent, but I'd still talk to him every day. So, yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Well, anyways, he saw what he was doing, and I saw the hashtag guild. I was
And
like,
he left the group though.
But still, regardless, you know what I mean. It's just seeing the movement
Yeah.
of it, whether how small or how big it was. I just like the fact that you guys had the idea to do something like that. It's like something I would have wanted done. I would have wanted to be a part of if I was coming up as a anime fan. So I was like, hey man, this I want to see this go somewhere, and then seeing what you guys are doing, and the podcast and just the community is. It seems like the community is different than what I'm used to dealing with. The community is like people I hung out with in high school. You know what I mean? Like sometimes certain aspects of the anime fandom could be very embarrassing.
Mm-hmm.
As a fan. And it feels like I could hang around with you, like when I was younger, I could hang around with you guys and not feel like someone's gonna try to beat me up. You know what I mean? It's like we can jump from talking about anime to talking about something else without it being like, oh, those are those anime people over there. Not to say that I'm embarrassed about anime, but there has to be a balance. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah, definitely.
I like anime. I like music. I like other things. You know what I mean? I don't let my I don't know. I'm not like that. But just reading your conversations and stuff like that, it's just like, all right, you guys are having fun, and you're not taking it too seriously, and that's who we've always kind of been like that at Anime 3000. Like for all the people that I've brought on are kind of have that balance where we're not like super otaku, but we know enough about whatever we like to sound somewhat intelligent.
Mm-hmm.
Unless I'm wrong and you guys are completely the other
No.
way and I offended you,
No,
I
no.
apologize.
Oh no! You're right. I will admit, we do have some people now that like join that are feeling. Some of them can be a little over opinionated sometimes, but there's like people like me, Darrell, Zane Typo. Shout out to Zane Typo because they started the guild. Um, they're very chill and relaxed, and there's a lot of other people that I'm not mentioning because I can't think of all their names. But there's a lot of people, that are chilling, talking about anime. It's how it should be. Then we got people like Kyle, Goon. They have their opinions, but it's all in love of anime. It's nothing personal. Then we have people like Terrence. Shout out to Terrence for reaching out to you guys. He left because of his own reasons. But it's always been. I always looked at the guild as being just a community of otakus that are chill. There is people that have their opinions and everything. That feel a little over opinionated. I guess I'm not throwing the guild under the bus. The guild is, it's the guild. It's unique in its own way, and I like it like that. But
you just gotta be the predominant voice in it, man.
Yeah.
If you feel like it's going in a certain direction, don't throw your hands up and say the guild. Be like, you run it. You know what I mean? Be the biggest voice in the room. Don't let something shift to the way you don't want it to be. Not to say have infighting and stuff like that, but just be like, do your thing. Make your podcast. You guys, what?
Yeah,
you're
us.
Blurred Online.
Yeah.
Yeah, make your thing as hot as it can be, and rep the guild. You know what I mean? And then
That's how I always
people are
looked at it.
And they're gonna gravitate towards you, and that's all you can do. And it's also good to have that balance in there, because I like to sit back and hear somebody like super geek out about a particular subject in a way that I can't do it, but just in moderation,
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And also, I'm starting a new movement right now
All right.
on this
Okay.
podcast.
All right.
Okay, and
Let's
you can
get
jump on it if you want. It doesn't matter. The term otaku,
Yeah,
we
let's
need to
go.
kill that.
I'm already on board.
It's geek. It's geek now. Okay, it's geek because geek is about being passionate about something. And you can be geeked out. You can be a geek about paying your taxes. That's what you're a geek. But anybody can be a geek. Otaku is actually not, you could say, I'm taking it back, in America it's this, that, and the other. But if you're claiming to be a fan of Japanese culture, the term otaku is not a badge of honor.
I guess.
Yeah.
And we have our own terminology over here. Let's use that. If you're gonna call yourself an otaku, to switch it out and call yourself a geek.
Okay.
And
I gotta
and that's it. Go ahead.
go. Yep. Sorry about that. Go right ahead.
No, I was done.
Okay. Sorry, man. I have a bad habit of, cutting people off. I do apologize. I always looked at the term otaku as like with Sanosuke and Rurouni Kenshin. Like he represented, well, he had the term. I guess the character's bat on his, jacket and everything. Like he had a reason behind, representing that term. A lot of people would say, oh, that's, the character bad, stay away from him. But he had a, a message behind that. And I always looked at the term otaku and like, okay, this definition kind of fits me. I can represent this. It's not like I'm going to go to Japan and scream I'm an otaku. I know better. And
But if you knew why they're calling them an otaku and some of the things that otaku do, it's not cool. You know what I mean? It's not
like there's a lot of negative definitions about it, but I'm thinking, I'm not gonna go and run around the world and scream it. Like that's just my personal view on it. But I understand where you're coming from. I agree.
To your view, and for certain reasons, otaku will never go away. People have named their businesses otaku.
Yeah.
So, like if you like all of a sudden everybody's like, oh, otaku's whack. A certain magazine is gonna have a little bit of a problem. But that's how I personally feel, and I never felt super strong about it. But I think passion is what's lacking in a lot of podcasts and stuff like that. And I just want to take a stand on something and have a voice on a particular thing. So geek. Let's go. Let's get geeked out about not using the term
I'm all
otaku,
with you, man.
right? I'm just kidding. I don't care that much about it, but I wouldn't call myself an otaku.
I gotta think about that one, man.
Now, just sit on a little bit,
Yeah.
Switch it around a little bit, see how it tastes, and
Yeah. Oh, will do, man. Well, Sean, thank you for coming. People, check out anime3000.com. Check out, the Anime 3000 podcast. Follow Anime 3000 at Anime 3000. Check us out on Cage Summit, or check us out on youtube.com/Enigma2Gamers. Check out the other podcasts, CB Time and Powerbomb Jutsu. Check us out on Stitches Radio, iTunes, subscribe. I just said that. And, like I said, thanks again, Sean, for coming on. Thank you, Darrell, for helping me with this interview. Thank you to whoever's listening. Shouts out to the guild. And love, peace, and geek to all.
Otaku to all.
Until next time, America. Until next time.
I might be the LeBron of the Grand Prix. Small forward that these other players can't beat. Got a little cutie holding it down in midfield. Plus I got a bad Puerto Rican in the back seat. She plays some mad D. Please don't be thinking you still have an overwhelming power in this race that's jam speed. And I'm not down with that. I'm pushing down the throttle, thinking about how they said we couldn't before my G-force makes a wobble. They stay trying to throw me off my course. Fail to apply the proper force, so I incorporate that torque. Independent thinking is what Andre would enforce. So I have them spinners picking off the track. I own this sport. Nice guy, but when it comes to winning, heart is cooler. Cybernetic emotions like my brain was fused with Lucas. With Ramsey on my squad, my game's constantly getting tuned up. I'm trying to be a champion, so I got no time for true love. Immortal.
My team is so on, we hit the track, we blow balls, we glance back, say so long. Youth with all hope, on this race all we have, so your team's about to get so long. And don't you underestimate us, cause we're the new kids on the block, cause you will get rocked. And when